What's going on, my beautifuls? It's Captain Jessup again. Back with another I'm Tired. I had a random idea because I was at work and I was bored, and I keep thinking my mind doesn't stop running, and I want to make another video because I've been lazy. I haven't made videos. And what I wanted to talk about today, oh, pointing the wrong way, this one, was this card here. Okay, yeah, probably hasn't been meta relevant for close to 19 years probably, but everybody remembers this card as a kid, right? So everybody had one of these. It was in Starter Deck YuGiOh. I think it was printed in LOB, although I'm going to want to confirm that. And it was also, well, obviously, as you can see in the top here, reprinted in Dark Beanies 1. It was a popular card because, again, I always talk... I mean, Christ, this is nothing new. What I go on about is your old school playground YuGiOh, when you had a giant mishmash of cards to work with, and you basically just threw together whatever you had and threw it in a deck. Well, a lot of the cards you had were typically random commons from starter decks, like Starter Deck Kaiba and Starter Deck YuGi. You probably had a mishmash of random stuff people open packs from, and you went from that. So a card like Beaver Warrior here, is a classic example of a card that nostalgia players are going to know and going to remember. But there's a couple weird things about this card that I've been watching videos about that we need to talk about. So I want to talk about, we're going to go into the depth, into the lore, the deep dive depths of Beaver Warrior. One of the lamest, but not worst to play back in like 2002, normal monsters. Obviously, it hasn't seen any actual play since 2002 because it's not good, and it never even really was good from the beginning. But we're going to go back to its humble roots even before 2002, before there was a card game and there was a manga. And somebody pointed out and realized recently in the manga, wait 1 second here, that Beaver Warrior actually had a name. And by the way, it's not a dude. This is Louise. Her name is Louise, boys and girls. So, yeah, I don't know why we didn't get that in America. I guess it'd just be kind of weird to grab a card and go, alright, I throw down Louise, turn 1. Like, okay, yeah, probably not. But yeah, so, obviously Yugi cares about his monsters and about his things. So you have to make it personal. Louise. So this little rat rodent here, Louise, is her name. The greatest warrior of all time. Not particularly. But then, as we were going through and you're thinking about it or pointing out, is, I don't know if anybody ever looked closely at this card, or maybe there's just a Mandela effect from a kid. You know how, like, the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears, how, like, Nelson Mandela didn't die, and, like, Febreze is only spelt with 1 E, not 2 E's. Yeah, that kind of shit. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but the Beaver Warrior's not a beaver. Now, I'm Canadian, so I picked up on this one pretty quickly. Okay? But yeah, that's what a real... Ooh, that's my face. That's... Come on, man. Well, I guess this beaver stain here. There we go. That's what a real beaver looks like, right? Let's compare that side by side. And I get drawings, I get cartoons, not supposed to be realistic. But just a couple of key things that I really wanted to point out here that kind of make a difference. So the first thing you'll notice is this beaver has, I don't know, a fucking beaver tail. Beaver Warrior Louise here, Queen Louise, does not have, a beaver tail. That's like a rat tail. Like, okay, I know we don't have Louise here as a size for comparison, compared to, like, this big heckin' r/chonkers Reddit dude. But Louise here doesn't have a tail. At least a beaver tail. So that makes me think less that she's a beaver. Yes, I get rodent, and beavers are kind of like massive, giant, floppy-tailed dick rodents. By the way, they're not friendly. I don't know if you've ever met one. I'm Canadian. I've met them. They're not nice. Okay? They're pretty protective of their area. So, right at the get-go, I mean, yeah, okay, evil look. Yeah, the evil works, but the tail doesn't work. And the other thing is beavers don't have giant pointy ears. They tend to have little round kitty ears, right? Easy for swimming, good aerodynamics, right? So, what the hell happened? Well, so chances are we probably had a little bit of miscommunication. So, obviously, when this card was brought into the original OCG in Japan back in the late 90s, this card is literally named Louise. I'm not joking. If you actually read the... God, I'm so backwards here. If you actually read the katakana name on the top, by the way, that's katakana. I don't expect everybody to be able to read Japanese language unless you're an absolute giant fucking nerd like me who decides that I want to just do that shit. That actually pronounces as Ruisu, or Louise in English. So this beaver was always, not beaver, rat-looking beaver thing was named Louise. And clearly what ended up happening, at least from what I can figure out, just by my own guessing, is that when they were bringing cards over to bring to North America to make it the greatest game on the planet, somebody in America, because Canada wouldn't do this, Canadians are smart enough, somebody in America went, what are we going to name this card? Louise just doesn't... I just don't want somebody to just slap down Louise. That's a beaver. We're going to name it Beaver Warrior. Let's just make it literal. It's just a fucking beaver. Dude. It's not a fucking beaver. It's just one of those things that went through my head at work the other day. I had to dig deep into the lore. The lore of Beaver Warrior. Because this is just one of the millions of cards that Konami didn't do the best job of either translating or bringing over. And I literally looked to see if there was any reason why they called this Beaver Warrior other than the fact that, somebody just fucked up the translation. And that's it. There is nothing else under the lore, under anything else in the manga, and that states that this is an actual beaver. Somebody drew a rat because this is a classic, old school, 90s, 2000, early 2000s YuGiOh artwork where they just threw a random monster on, what is that background? They just, it's so classic CG, computer generation CGI, such classic old school. And they just were like, yep, that fits, dude. And, yeah, no, somebody just went, nope, I don't want to call this Louise. We're going to call it, yeah, it's a beaver, so Beaver Warrior. Not noticing it's not a fucking beaver. Anyways, I know people are probably watching these videos going, well, why are you talking about the current meta? What decks are viable? And that shit's for Alex Simo. That dude gets paid good money for that shit. It's just one of those random ramblings going to my head. It's super fucking late. I should probably go to bed. I work tomorrow. I don't know, man. Just one of those dumb things. But good God, that's got to be that's got to be one of the greatest. Somebody should have been fired for that jokes of all time. Anyways, I'll find better content soon. I swear. Peace.